King Daeron I Targaryen brought 3 massive armies to conquer Dorne. He had unlimited gold and the most powerful military in the world, armies that had never known defeat. Within a year, he'd conquered the entire kingdom. He stood victorious in Sunspear, having accomplished what his ancestor Aegon the Conqueror could not. But within 3 years, he was dead, murdered, at a peace negotiation that was actually a trap. 10,000 soldiers died conquering Dorne, 50,000 more died trying to hold it. And in the end, with the death of a king, the entire conquest collapsed. The Dornish rose up. They destroyed everything the Targaryens had built. They reclaimed their independence. But here's the question no one asks. How? How does a kingdom with fewer soldiers, fewer resources, no dragons, manage to break a Targaryen conquest? The answer isn't what you think. It has everything to do with something the dragons couldn't burn: value. Dorne defeated the Targaryens not through military force, but through economic necessity. This is the Dornish masterpiece. Chapter 2: The Luxury Trap. Controlling roots alone doesn't create wealth. What made Dorne indispensable is what it produced. Sand steeds, the only horses that can run 2 days without tiring. Every merchant seeking speed wants them. Blood oranges, luxury status symbols that lords serve to prove their wealth. Dornish strongwine, dark, sweet, potent, the drink of power and taste. And scorpion venom, Dornish assassins' poison, the weapon that solves problems without war. Dorne sets the price. The Dornish controlled scarcity. They produced what the world wanted but couldn't get elsewhere. They didn't farm food. They farmed power. They turned a harsh desert into the continent's most valuable exports. Chapter 3: The Planky Town. All of this economic power culminates in one place, the Planky Town. Located where the Greenblood spills into the summer sea, the Planky Town is unlike any other settlement in Westeros. It is built on wooden poles and lashed together ships and rafts, a floating settlement that exists entirely on water. This is Dorne's only major port, and it is strategically positioned on one of the continent's most important trade routes. Merchant ships from the free cities, from Lys, Tyrosh, Pentos, find the Planky Town a natural harbor. Merchants traveling between trade routes make port here to resupply, trade, and gather information. The orphans of the Greenblood bring goods from the interior down the river to meet international traders. Every ship that docks pays harbor fees. Every merchant pays vendor taxes. Every transaction that occurs in the Planky Town, and there are thousands daily, generates Dornish wealth. Beneath Sunspear itself lies the Shadow City, an underground network of bazaars, streets, and shaded chambers carved into rock and beneath the castle's walls. Before caravans cross the deep desert toward the mountain passes, they stock supplies here. In these cool chambers, a practical benefit of building beneath the scorching sun, goods are stored safely. Every caravan that passes through enriches the system. The Dornish didn't build an economy on production alone. They built it by positioning themselves as the necessary middlemen. At every major choke point, the mountain passes, the river, the sea, wealth flowed through Dornish hands. Chapter 4: Why the Conquest Failed. So now we understand why Daeron I's conquest crumbled. It wasn't that the Dornish won battles. They lost most of them. But they understood something fundamental. They didn't need to defeat Daeron in open combat. They just needed to make occupying Dorne more expensive than it was worth. When the king sent most of his armies home, thinking victory was secure, the Dornish began to rebel, not through pitched battles, but through the destruction of the very systems that made occupation profitable. They ambushed supply lines, they harassed patrols, they made the occupation of a hostile desert kingdom economically unsustainable. By 161 AC, the bleeding was unsustainable. 50,000 soldiers had died not in glorious battles, but in a war of attrition in hostile terrain. The occupation was costing more than the kingdom was worth. When Daeron agreed to peace negotiations, he walked into a trap. The Dornish assassinated the conqueror king, and with him, the entire occupation collapsed. The Iron Throne learned a crucial lesson. Dorne was worth more alive and independent than conquered and occupied. Eventually, in 187 AC, Dorne joined the Seven Kingdoms not through military submission, but through negotiation, a marriage alliance that left the Martells keeping their unique title of prince and retaining special privileges no other great house possessed. The revelation: Daeron I had unlimited armies, gold beyond measure, military victories. But he couldn't win against an economic system that refused to break. Dorne wasn't worth more conquered than alive. By controlling trade choke points and producing what the continent craved, they made occupation financially catastrophic. Conquest became impossible. The biggest sword doesn't always win. The person everyone else depends on wins. Dorne turned a harsh desert into leverage. They didn't conquer the world. They made the world depend on them. This is the Dornish masterpiece.